Today we're doing a Twilight Princess multiplayer tutorial. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to ask in the comments, or feel free to ask on the official Discord server. All links will be in the description down below, though I cannot link to the ROM that is used for this tutorial. First things first, join Kirby Mimi's Caravan server. Once you have joined the server, we're going to go to mods. Click on mods and scroll down until you find the latest release that is out. It's called ZTP MP, which stands for Zelda Twilight Princess Multiplayer. Download that, and once it's finished, we will then move on to the next step. The next thing you're going to want to do is get the latest version of Dolphin. For the tutorial, I am using 5.0-19368 for Windows. You will also need Java for this tutorial. You can download it here on their site. Once you have downloaded everything, take your Dolphin X64 folder and put it somewhere safe. We will be using it a lot throughout this tutorial. In your Dolphin folder, you're going to create two additional folders. One called Twilight Princess Multiplayer, and one called ZTP MP. And extract the Zelda Twilight Princess Multiplayer into a folder of its own. Once those are done, we are then going to go into Dolphin.
Please know that you will need to get a copy of the game Twilight Princess, and it has to be the PAL version. Due to legal reasons, I will be unable to provide you with a copy of the game.
Once your Dolphin is open, you're going to place your PAL copy of the ROM in the library. If you're uncertain of how to add it, go to Configuration and then look for Paths.
So Shad made this confusing, so I will take over. 1. Once the game is in the library, right-click it, and this menu here will open. Once in the menu, you will click the tiny arrow in the top right-hand corner. Click on File System, and then right-click on the game disk. You will then extract the entire disk to the Twilight Princess multiplayer folder that Shad mentioned.
While we have the game open, I will get into the patches and the AR codes. For patches, all we'll need to do is enable the Hyrule Field Speed Hack. AR code, we will be adding the number of screens and a lag fix as well. If you're wondering where you can find these codes, I will link them in the description. If you're wondering where you can find the information for the AR code, in your ZTPMP folder, there's a tutorial text box for Notepad. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will not only find the ROM patcher site, but there are special commands for teleportation, toggling grass and other models, and save performances. The AR code that we're going to use for lag is here. You don't have to change it. This one though, here, you will have to change a little bit. I just realized they can't see it. Good job, Shad. You're really doing a great tutorial here. When you input your AR code, you can add a new code and enter them. For the screen code, it'll end with an X. You change the X to a number. So if you're player 1, you change the number to 1. You'll then make a player 2 screen, a player 3 screen, and a player 4 screen, changing the X to a 2 for 2, a 3 for 3, and a 4 for 4. The lag fix will be just as is. You don't need to change anything in the code. We're then going to go back to our file folders. After extracting the entire disk to our Twilight Princess multiplayer, you will then see that it says Files and System. As you can see, we have a main.dol file, as well as a few other files. As for our ZTP MP folder, we're going to go in there for now. First things first, we're going to open our patcher.jar file. You'll also notice that the tutorial file is in here. We're going to open patcher.jar. When the patcher opens, you can choose your customization options. First things first, go to Original File. Window will open and it will ask you to find the location of your main.dol file. For this tutorial, your file will be in your Twilight Princess multiplayer folder. You will find it, click on it, and save. You will then do the same thing for target file. You will find it like this. For mine, it is in the E drive under Dolphin-X64 under Twilight Princess multiplayer under System, and then main.dol. After that, you can check. It will tell you if your file checksum is not correct. That's not good. Once you do a check, it should tell you if it's correct. After that, you can click patch. It will successfully patch, and then we can move on to the next step. We can now close this. We're going to go to this site here. I will link it in the description down below, but this is the ROM patcher for the multiplayer. First things first, we're going to find the ROM file. Our ROM file is located under Twilight Princess Multiplayer System. We will upload our ROM file here. The main.dol file that we just patched is what it is looking for. We're then going to add our patch file. Our patch file is underneath Zelda Twilight Princess Multiplayer. As you can see, there are 3 different options to choose from. If you had 2 players, you would pick 2. 3 is for 3 and 4 is for 4. We're going to apply our patch now.
Seems like Shad can't explain this very well, so I shall do it. Once you patch the file, it will create a download. You then go to your TP multiplayer folder, and replace the current main.dol with the new main patch.dol. After that, rename it. We shall rename it to main.dol. So Shad forgot to mention this. But you will need to replace the by2.bin with the one in the ZTPMP folder. You can just copy it and replace the file. Then we can get back to the tutorial.
Another thing to note is if you'd like to change the banner for your game, you can do so now. Go to Twilight Princess Multiplayer, go to Files. Here you will see opening.bnr and find the exact same one. If you replace this one with this one here, you will be able to have a different banner. If not, you can leave it as is. Go back to Dolphin, go to Config, and go to Paths. We're then going to add our multiplayer/system to it. After that is done, we can then look and find our new copy. As you can see, it is listed here. Before we can begin, make sure you go to your Advanced under your Configuration and enable Emulated CPU Clock Override to 400% and Memory Override is enabled to 64 megabytes. Before we get started with Netplay, I would just like to remind you that you will need to sync your memory card to your friends that are playing. Make sure that you create a memory card for player 1 specifically. In this case, we're going to go to Config and go to GameCube. Then we're going to go to Memory Card and click the 3 dots. A memory card path will then pop up. If you need to make one, we'll go to Tools, Memory Card Manager, Create, then Create again, and type the name in. If you need to, you can create a memory card here. I created this one here, online.eur.raw. Once the memory card is created, we can then set a path to it. As you can see, the path has been set. Once the memory card is done, you can then go to Controls. It'll start on mouse and keyboard. You can then scroll down to find your controller. If it doesn't appear, try replugging it into the computer and see if that works. Another thing to note is other players don't need to configure their controllers. Only player 1 does. Netplay will automatically take player 1's controllers and reuse them for the other players. When you use Netplay though, there is something you should know. Your D-pad will not work like it normally would as player 1. Player 2 will not be able to use the map, nor will they be able to open the item wheel or the start menu. It is good to know this ahead of time, in case you get confused as to why it's not working. Player 2, 3, and 4 can use their D-pad to teleport to the other players, and player 1 can also teleport to other players. Player 1 has full control over all the menu, including the save file. Another thing to note is make sure that if you're having any issues with connecting via Netplay, to make sure your firewall settings are not preventing access. For now, we are going to start a Netplay session. It will automatically be on direct connection. I recommend you change it to Traversal Server. You can make your nickname whatever you'd like, and for now we're going to go to Host. Be sure to pick the correct copy of the game. If you would like to have a lobby with your friends, you can click Show in Server, click the region that you would like, create the room name and the password. Then you can click Host. This menu here will open. In this menu, you have a couple options. As the host, you have control over this entire menu, so do keep that in mind, that other players will not be able to change the data, the network, or the checksum. You will also have abilities to kick players and assign controller ports. When your friends join the lobby, you will be able to make them whatever port they would like, so choose whoever would like to be which. This is also where you can get your room code. You can copy it and send it to your friends, and they can join here. Under Data, ensure that strict settings are checked if you're having issues. This will sync additional graphic settings and force everyone to use the same internal resolution. This may prevent desync in some games. Make sure sync AR/gecko codes is disabled. Speaking of AR codes, ensure that you have the correct screen number enabled under your properties on the game. Make sure that if you're the host, you are player 1 screen. Make sure that your friends use the proper screens as well. Make sure that player 2 has the correct screen as well, and 3 and 4 if they are joining. Also make sure that Netplay uses the host save data. If you have load host save data only, it will discard it at the end of the session. Network should be under fair input delay. Checksum, it syncs all of your current settings, so make sure you do that